Well, according to 50 Cent and other industry insiders, everything you're seeing with Diddy is just the tip of the iceberg. Jay-Z has much darker secrets, the only difference between him and Diddy being that he is smarter and not sloppy. Do y'all remember how Jaguar Wright said basically the same thing in a recent interview?
Sean Carter is worse.
Oh, man.
He's smarter. He's patient. He's not sloppy. Just he been lining up people he calls friends and stepping to the side while they get hit by the guillotine for 30 years. He's fucking worse.
Jaguar has actually been on Jay-Z's case for a long time because she believes he is one of the most dangerous people in the industry. A couple years ago, she did an interview where she talked about how Jay-Z and R. Kelly share the same dark history, even down to girlfriends. And when you think about it, Jay did allegedly have something weird going on with Aaliyah, and this was confirmed by Dame Dash in an interview where he talked about how he felt betrayed when Jay-Z started going after Aaliyah. Also, isn't it super creepy that Jay-Z knew about all the things R. Kelly was doing with Aaliyah, but also with all them other girls and women that were working on him and still did a whole album and tour with him?
Now, we always known that you don't get to the top in the entertainment industry without getting your hands dirty in a ton of shady business. And Jay-Z's been called out for it multiple times.
Jay-Z ain't answering the phone?
He ain't answering the motherfucking phone.
In this video 50 recently shared, he was trolling both Jay-Z and Diddy because Jay ain't picking up the phone. And really, the only reason why Jay-Z wouldn't be picking up the phone at this point is that he's trying to keep a low profile and not draw too much attention to himself. That's why, like I said earlier, 50 Cent was trying to get his hands on the tapes that were seized from Diddy's home raids, because it'll probably have evidence of Jay-Z involved in some criminal things with Diddy. I mean, Jaguar Wright did say recently that Diddy has allegedly turned over tapes of Jay-Z and Beyonce participating in freak-off sessions with Diddy. The reason why that's not such a stretch is that, as y'all know, Diddy has been seen hanging out with Jay-Z and Beyonce too many times to count. Like, they really are thick as thieves. But I guess Diddy really fumbled by taking those tapes and even threatening to use them as leverage if things go south.
Now, even 50 Cent has left no stone unturned when it comes to talking about the rapper and how he was one of the main people involved with Diddy and the whole sex trafficking thing.
In fact, as we speak, Jay might already be in contact with the feds to see about covering his tracks and getting rid of anything that links him to Diddy. Now, what's interesting about all this is that people have been speculating for some time now that Jay-Z is going to be the next to be exposed after they're done with Diddy. When YouTuber Storm Monroe talked about it a few weeks ago, it seemed like he was just hating, but it looks like everything that was predicted is now coming to pass.
And instead of owning up to it, he's trying his best to keep his dark side hidden from the media, even if it means snitching on Diddy to the feds.
In recent years, there have been numerous allegations surrounding Jay-Z's alleged interference in artists' careers, and Chris Brown is now stepping forward to validate these claims. He alleges that Jay-Z had him sidelined due to his relationship with Rihanna, but not for the reasons commonly assumed. According to Chris, Rihanna was unfaithful to him with Jay-Z and purportedly transmitted a sexually transmitted infection to him that she had contracted from Jay-Z. As Jaguar Wright has said,
Jay-Z gave her the herpes that she gave to Chris Brown. Rihanna was only 14, 15 when he started fucking with her and signed to the death chair.
persistent rumors have circulated for an extended period suggesting a clandestine affair between Rihanna and Jay-Z, with implications that Chris Brown was privy to this information. This speculation traces back to 2009 when Chris Brown pleaded guilty to assaulting Rihanna, alleging that she had transmitted herpes to him. The narrative surrounding these events is complex and far-reaching. Chris Brown said, "She gave me herpes, and then when I threatened to file a lawsuit against her for not telling me she was infested with genital blisters, she began to hit herself in the face and throw herself against the walls just as Jim Carrey did in the movie Liar Liar," he claims. Then she turned around and blamed me for the matter as a form of punishment. This is an intriguing development, especially considering the long-standing rumors about Jay-Z and Rihanna's involvement in some capacity. These rumors circulated widely in the late 2000s and early 2010s, but Rihanna consistently denied any intimate involvement with Jay-Z, emphasizing that their relationship was purely about music. At the time, her publicist even took responsibility for spreading the false information, attributing it to a strategy to boost Rihanna's career. But now Chris is alleging that it's all a cover-up, as both Jay-Z and Rihanna were reportedly going to great lengths to squash the rumors of an affair due to the potential fallout it could cause for them.
I didn't want her knowing my business too. I just didn't know who she would tell if I tell her what I'm doing, you know?
Even worse, Chris is also alleging that Jay-Z allegedly coerced him into perpetuating the narrative that he was the one cheating on Rihanna, despite her alleged infidelity. According to Chris, Jay-Z didn't want the public to know that Rihanna had allegedly been unfaithful to him because it would inevitably lead back to Jay-Z himself. Reportedly, Chris Brown hints that there's more to his story than meets the eye. For instance, when Chloe Bailey faced backlash for collaborating with Brown on her song How Does It Feel, he expressed frustration, asserting that people still hold his past mistakes against him from when he was 17. He pointed out the hypocrisy in the entertainment industry, where violent content is often embraced as entertainment while he faces constant scrutiny. Brown also called out the lack of accountability for white artists who engage in problematic behavior. In a pointed remark, he alluded to someone in the industry who has been romantically linked to younger women and is married to a much younger woman, implicitly referring to Jay-Z, whose relationship timeline with Beyoncé has raised eyebrows.
And y'all know how Chris Brown's always blamed for his breakup with Rihanna because of his abuse. Well, according to him, Jay-Z was the actual reason that they broke up in the first place.
To start with, a lot of Beyoncé's fans have suspected that Beyoncé was groomed by Jay-Z because of their 12-year age difference and the fact that Beyoncé was a teenager when she met Jay. Back in 2008, Beyoncé told 17 magazine that she was 18 years old when she first met Jay and claimed they started dating when she was 19. There was no rush. No one expected me to run off and get married, Beyoncé said. As for Jay, he offered a bit of insight into his first meeting with Beyoncé and his song Everything Is Love, where he raps, "Fate had me sitting next to you on the plane, and I knew straight away." The flight Jay-Z raps about allegedly took place back in 2000 after Jay and Destiny's Child both performed at MTV's Spring Break Festival in Cancun, Mexico.
Took it there, first of all, let me say, I am not the one to sit around.
Is the official story. However, there's been a lot of speculation over the years that Jay had his sights set on Beyoncé much earlier and that he basically arranged for them to accidentally sit next to each other on that plane. According to internet sleuths, Jay actually met Beyoncé for the first time when she was just 16 and he was 28, and he immediately started plotting how to get with her.
Then there's the fact that he got together with Beyoncé while she was still a minor, too.
Jay was allegedly involved with rapper Foxy Brown, and they met when Foxy was just 14 or 15 years old while Jay was 27. Foxy always denied this and claimed that she and Jay-Z were just close friends. But why would a 27-year-old man want to be friends with a 15-year-old girl? Besides that, Jay-Z wrote a lot of explicit and vulgar lyrics about Foxy back in the 90s, with some sources even claiming he used her as a drug mule. There have actually been multiple sources seemingly confirming that Jay-Z manipulated Foxy. However, given the power and influence Jay-Z has, it seems like most people are scared to openly talk about this. For example, take a look at how Dame Dash reacted in an interview with Nick Cannon when Nick brought up Jay-Z and Foxy's alleged illegal relationship.
At what age was Foxy Brown signed?
I wasn't paying attention to Foxy Brown.
Yeah, but that's...
I didn't sign Foxy Brown.
I know
Stop
you
putting
didn't.
me
I'm
in
just
that.
asking a
You keep asking
question.
because I'm on the block. I'm responsible for everybody.
You the boss.
I wasn't.
Thought Foxy was like 16. That's all I'm saying.
What that? Did I sign her? It sounds like you.
All I'm saying
sounds
is
like
in
you
this
got
industry,
some-
when we live
it
in these
seems like
glass
you got.
houses.
It seems like you got a question for Jay. Ask him. Don't ask me his questions, bro. I'm not taking it.
I'm not just... Okay.
Y'all can keep asking me
We're
questions.
moving on.
Y'all keep asking me questions y'all want to ask him.
Now, the fact that Dame got all defensive seems very suspect, and based on his reaction, it seems like he knows the real truth about Jay.
And before Beyoncé, he was dating rapper Foxy, and they met when she was literally 14 years old.
And as you probably know, R. Kelly manipulated Dame's ex-girlfriend, Aaliyah, and he actually married her in 1994 when she was just 15 years old by allegedly using a fake ID that listed Aaliyah's age as 18. And even after this came to light, Jay-Z still continued to work with R. Kelly, and they actually released a joint album called Best of Both Worlds at the height of R. Kelly's allegations. Dame later blasted Jay-Z for betraying Aaliyah, and he said that after Jay and R. Kelly released their joint album, that's when he realized there was something morally wrong with Jay-Z.
But I've been tight about this shit for years. So to be honest, like, if you remember the Best of Both Worlds, you don't see my name on that. You know what I mean? And
your name is not on either album.
Hell no, I never wanted no parts of that. So when Holmes was doing that shit, I was like, bro, you know our homie violated, and he violated my girl. He violated a friend of yours.
Dame also claimed that Jay later also tried to do a Best of Both Worlds tour with R. Kelly, and all of this was happening after Kelly got exposed.
He destroyed, but then years later they tried to do the tour.
The best of both.
Yeah, but it still didn't work out. But you notice I wasn't a part of any of that, and the karma happens. But the thing I didn't understand is I was like, I know I'm not fucking with that. And because of the moral challenge and him choosing one way, I knew morally we weren't the same.
Right.
So to me, Rockefeller was defunct. It was over. I couldn't something that to me was just like, not to say unforgivable, but I couldn't understand it.
And then, what's also disturbing is that there's been a lot of speculation over the years that Jay-Z was also trying to get with Aaliyah at one point. According to Dame Dash, Jay tried very hard to get with Aaliyah, and though Dame never specified how old Aaliyah was when Jay met her, the fact that Jay was already friends with R. Kelly at this point makes the whole situation extremely creepy. After all, we all know birds of a feather flock together, so this could explain why Jay didn't want to turn his back on R. Kelly, and this is also why a lot of fans have compared Jay's situation with Foxy Brown to R. Kelly and Aaliyah.
Plus, it looking like Jay's got a knack for keeping shady people as close to him as possible, like R. Kelly, Mr. Golden Showers himself.
Now, you might recall that we previously reported on a huge lawsuit filed against Combs by his ex-girlfriend Cassandra Ventura back on November 16, 2023. At the time, Ventura alleged that Combs physically and sexually abused her, including forcing her into sexual slavery and sex trafficking. And some of the more alarming allegations in that federal lawsuit included Combs allegedly raping Ventura in her home after she tried to leave him, savagely beating her, resulting in bruises and burst lips, forcing her to have sex with prostitutes on video while he watched and masturbated, forced her to carry a gun for him, and tried to chase down music producer Suge Knight with a gun. That was a law that gave survivors of sexual assault a 1-year window to file lawsuits if their claims were otherwise time barred under the statute of limitations. Now, Ventura had told CBS at the time, quote, "After years in silence and darkness, I am finally ready to tell my story and to speak up on behalf of myself and for the benefit of other women who face violence and abuse in their relationships." With the expiration of New York's Adult Survivors Act fast approaching, it became clear that this was an opportunity to speak up about the trauma I have experienced and that I will be recovering from for the rest of my life.
Another controversial individual that Jay-Z's now being linked to is none other than Diddy, and he's got a rap sheet that's equally long.
Now, just one day after filing this lawsuit in New York federal court, Combs and Ventura agreed to a settlement. Now, as with most settlements, it was confidential. We do not know the terms. Ventura released the statement saying, quote, "I have decided to resolve this matter amicably on terms that I have some level of control. I want to thank my family, fans, and lawyers for their unwavering support." Combs released his own statement saying, quote, "We have decided to resolve this matter amicably. I wish Cassie and her family all the best. Love."
Now, just a day after Cassie filed the lawsuit, though, she and Diddy amicably settled it outside of court. Suspicious AF, man.
Now, Ben Braffman, who is an attorney for Sean Combs, released a statement saying, quote, "Just so we're clear, a decision to settle a lawsuit, especially in 2023, is in no way an admission of wrongdoing. Mr. Combs' decision to settle the lawsuit does not in any way undermine his flat-out denial of the claims. He is happy they got to a mutual settlement and wishes Miss Ventura the best." But you have to imagine, in a way, although this came out and these allegations came out, this was a win for Combs in a way, right? Sure, really bad publicity, terrible allegations, but when you settle, it doesn't stay in the news, you don't go to trial, these details aren't revealed at a trial or even in pretrial discovery.
At that point, it was obvious that Cassie's allegations against him was true. Otherwise, why would his attorney be so quick to defend him?
Things had gotten so serious that you became pregnant. Not once, but twice, correct?
Yes.
Okay. When was the first time you became pregnant with Diddy's child?
The first time was October 2014.
Okay. So this was like, what, a year after?
No, not a year, but because I met him in February and then I got pregnant in October.
Oh, so the same year.
The same year.
Okay.
Well, I told him and he was like, you're going to get an abortion, right? And then I was like, I don't know. I don't know yet. And then he offered me $50,000 to get rid of it, but I turned it down because I just loved him, and I was like trying to prove that I wasn't the girl that
was
wanted him for money.
Okay.
I just care about him. I say like the first 3.5 years he was like mean to me.
So when you say mean, describe it.
He was abusive. He was like always belittling me and always like he was like mentally, emotionally, and physically abusing me.
Did he?
Mm-hmm.
It's not the first time we've heard that.
Mm-hmm.
There was an incident, of course, with Cassie, where reporters are saying that the police were called because they got into an altercation. I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Tell me some of the things that he would say to you.
He would always compare me to Cassie and tell me that I'm the bad one and she's the good one.
And he was with both of you guys at the same time.
Yeah. Names like, he would call me a hoe every single day.
A hoe?
Yeah.
Why would he call you? Not that he had a reason, but like, in his mind, what do you think prompted him to call you a hoe?
Thinking back now, I think he did it because he wanted me to feel low about myself, like, so that I stick around him, because like no one would I don't know, I just feel like he'd try to I was naive and young when I met him, so I feel like he tried to take advantage of that and manipulate me.
Mm-hmm. Obviously you terminated baby one because you loved him.
Mm-hmm.
How long after you guys started dating is when did the physical abuse start?
The first time it ever happened, which was not even like that long into the relationship, because I met him in February, and then it was probably like the beginning of May, because we were at Meek's Mill's birthday.
Okay.
He had like a mansion party, and we went, but while we were there, I was sitting here, and then Puff, and then Meek, but I was like covered with like a stand or something, like probably says like "Happy Birthday, Meek" or something like that, but it's like a little stand that like was covering me, because there was like a lot of cameras and stuff there. So it was like me, Puff, and Meek. Puff had like leaned forward to like talk to somebody, say hi or whatever. And so I turned over to Meek and I said, "Happy birthday." He put his hand out and then he was like, "Thank you." So I reached his hand and shook it. And as I shook Meek's hand, he turned around and saw it, and he got so mad.
Wow.
And then we probably like stayed like 20 minutes after that happened. And then when we got in the car, he like grabbed my hair. We were in the one of those Escalade trucks.
Okay.
So I was sitting on this side, he was on the other side, and he like grabbed my hair and like cussed me out for doing that. He was like, "Why the fuck can I cuss?"
Yeah.
He was like, "Why the fuck you shaking his hand for?" Like just saying stuff
it was
that. I
just
was
like a jealous rage.
Yeah, I was like, I was just saying happy birthday, nothing else. I think he thought I was trying to be sneaky behind his back because I like reached over when he like leaned forward to talk to somebody else. So he thought I was trying to be sneaky.
And you were how old at this time?
I was 22 probably.
Wow.
Now, Diddy's got a history of abusing his significant others. Before Cassie, Diddy was dating Gina Hunn, and years later on a podcast, she revealed all the abuse that she had endured while she was with him.
Rapper and business mogul Sean Diddy Combs sued again by a woman claiming he sexually assaulted her when she was a teenager. And unlike the first time Combs was sued just a couple of weeks ago, this time, he's coming out swinging, vehemently denying the allegation. The plaintiff in this new suit is staying anonymous.
There was a complaint filed in the Southern District of New York by a Jane Doe. She filed this against Sean Combs, Harvey Pierre, a third assailant, Daddy's House Recordings, Inc., and Bad Boys Entertainment Holdings, Inc. Jane Doe, who was currently around 37 or 38 years old right now, was 17 and in the 11th grade back when these events first happened in 2003. During that time, Miss Doe met Mr. Pierre and a third assailant in a lounge in the Detroit, Michigan area. While at that lounge, Mr. Pierre insisted he was best friends with Mr. Combs and even called Mr. Combs with Miss Doe. Mr. Combs convinced Miss Doe, who was half his age at the time, to accompany Mr. Pierre and a third assailant on a private jet to come to his studio in New York City. Before they left for the private jet, Mr. Pierre smoked crack cocaine in a bathroom at the lounge, in which he also sexually assaulted Miss Doe by forcing her to give him oral sex. And she's expressing that she's using the pseudonym third assailant because she does not currently know the third assailant's name. However, once that's produced during discovery, she does plan to amend the complaint and produce his name. Mr. Pierre, third assailant, and another gentleman then escorted the high schooler to a private jet, which flew them to Teterboro, New Jersey. There were SUVs awaiting the group at Teterboro, and the four of them were driven to Daddy's House Recording Studios, a studio famously owned and operated by Mr. Combs and Bad Boy. While at the studio, Mr. Combs and his associates, including Mr. Pierre, piled Miss Doe with drugs and alcohol. As the night wore on, the 17-year-old Miss Doe became more and more inebriated, eventually to the point that she could not possibly have considered to have sex with anyone, much less someone twice her age. While at the studio, Miss Doe was gang by Mr. Combs, the third assailant, and Mr. Pierre in that order. While Mr. Combs was raping Miss Doe, he complained that he could not get off unless she pinched his nipples as hard as she could. Mr. Combs then watched on as a third assailant, who Miss Doe has not even realized had begun to have sex with her, Miss Doe as she told him to stop. After third assailant was finished, Mr. Pierre took his turn at raping Miss Doe and then violently forced her to give him oral sex, during which Miss Doe was choking and struggling to breathe. When Mr. Pierre finished, he left Miss Doe in the bathroom alone. Miss Doe fell into the fetal position and lay on the floor. Her vagina was in pain. Finally, after a period of time, Miss Doe regained her bearings. However, she could barely stand up following the gang rape and had to be helped to walk out of the building and back into a car. She was taken back to an airport and flown back to Michigan. However, she had very limited recollection of her transport home and only remembers being in a car sometime early in the morning. Unlike many victims who have come forward after decades, Miss Doe can prove that she not only met Mr. Combs on the night in question, but was in the studio in New York City with him on that night. Remember, when viewing these, Miss Doe was only 17 years old. Miss Doe has lived with the memories of this fateful night for 20 years, during which time she suffered extreme emotional distress that has impacted nearly every aspect of her life and personal relationships.
Cassie gave others the courage to come out and talk about the abuse that they went through with Diddy. And a recent lawsuit against the rap mogul had been filed by a Jane Doe, who claims that Diddy and his friends drugged and raped her.
The plaintiff in this new suit is staying anonymous, unlike a suit filed by Combs' ex, Cassie. Combs quickly settled that suit after a day for an undisclosed amount of cash, while quietly denying her claims. This lawsuit has the same trigger warning on it as Cassie's. In it, the Jane Doe claims she was sexually assaulted in 2003 by Combs and two other men. At that time, the woman was in the 11th grade and just 17 years old. The suit claims Jane Doe lived in Detroit, and Combs' team flew her to New York, where photos show her in his studio. Jane Doe claims Combs and his friends gave her drugs and alcohol and raped her. She offers intimate details about things she claims Combs needed or demanded during the assault. Then, after Combs was finished, Jane Doe claims he watched others sexually assault her. This is actually the 5th lawsuit filed against Combs in 3 weeks. Still, the big question, will these allegations prompt a closer look by the NYPD or even the feds? Transporting a minor over state lines for sex is a crime. Combs' lawyer, Ben Brafman, quickly turned down our request for an interview or a comment earlier today. So, stay tuned. I'm Anjanette Levy. It's Thursday, and this is Crime Fix, Law and Crime's rundown of the top stories in the world of crime. Up next, Donna Adelson, the Florida grandma accused of ordering the murder of her former son-in-law, wants a psychological evaluation and she wants out of jail. Adelson has filed a motion claiming the conditions are violating her rights and that jail guards actually joked about her being, quote, a fancy white lady who thinks she actually has rights. Adelson claims she had no access to silverware, clothes, or toiletries while in isolation at the Miami-Dade County Jail. And on the ride from Miami to Tallahassee, she claims she was dehydrated, shaking, and that paramedics actually had to be called to a rest stop to check on her. Joel Waldman, who is the host of the Surviving the Survivor podcast, has followed the case closely.
The content of it didn't really surprise anyone because it's essentially the lawyer representing Donna Adelson saying, hey, jail's not what Donna expected it to be. She's not getting silverware. She's got a dirty blanket, among a long litany of other things. And at the end, we find out that they're basically petitioning the court to have her remanded back to home under home arrest. And I've talked to legal experts, and there's just absolutely no way that's ever happening. And the reason that's not happening is she tried to bolt and flee the country. She's a flight risk. She bought a one-way ticket to Vietnam via Dubai, tried to get on that plane with her husband, but she was stopped once she got onto the jetway. She was almost home free, but there were eyes on her. She was arrested, so there is no way she's going back home. She's got to adjust to life in jail.
Now, Joel's absolutely right. There's no way a judge is going to grant this motion for house arrest. Also, Donna Adelson, according to prosecutors, talked about taking her own life on jail calls with Charlie after his conviction. Donna's lawyer calls the case against her circumstantial at best. Donna is accused of being the puppet master in the grand conspiracy to murder Dan Markel so she could have her grandsons closer to her in Miami. Donna Adelson will be back in court next week. At that time, the judge will consider this emergency motion. Doomsday cult mom Lori Vallow was back in court today, this time in Arizona, for the murder of her ex-husband, Charles Vallow, and the attempted hit on her niece's ex. The judge entered not guilty pleas on Vallow's behalf. She's accused of conspiring with her now dead brother, Alex Cox, to murder Charles back in 2019.
Then there's Joy Dickerson-Neal's lawsuit, which, if not more than, is equally worse as the rest of the allegations that have been made against Diddy so far.